Hello and welcome back to my journey. So as y'all can see, I got my silver button here. I had this for about 2 months, but I never really told anybody about it. I just kind of got this reward, opened a letter, shed a lot of tears, and I prayed to God and I gave thanks to God, and I was just thankful to have this button because just in January, I only had 1,000 subs, and life was a little different a year ago today. You know, it's August the 5th today. And last year, August 5th, I was in such a rough period of my life because the next couple of weeks after August the 5th, some events happened in my life and it shifted a lot of things. And it really tested my faith walk. And I stayed faithful and I continued to keep pushing. And now here I am today. I have 100,000 subs. I'm going to be talking about a lot today in this video. So make sure y'all stick around to the end. If you can't stick around to the end, just save the video and come back later and watch. Because if you are following my journey, this is one of the videos that you're going to want to watch because I'm going to be explaining a lot about my life, my journey, and why I do YouTube. Okay, so make sure y'all stick around. Make sure y'all smash that like button and let's get right into the video. It's raining right now, so if you hear a little boom, yes, it's raining. So yeah, I am Jamire. If you don't know already, I'm Jamire, and this is Jamire's Journey. This is my channel. This is my YouTube channel. I've been doing YouTube for 2 years. Yes, I'm 24, but yes, I'll be 25 in 21 days. I don't really celebrate my birthday, so I don't have any plans. But yeah, I'll be 25 soon, so it'll be 25 raising 8. First, I want to talk about why I do YouTube, okay? What am I doing YouTube for? Am I just doing this for money? Am I just doing this for popularity and things like that? Let's get into that. So I recorded my first video in 2024. And I remember I was just at a rough period in my life at that time. And I was just at my lowest point. And I remember like not having nobody to talk to at that time because my family, you know, they judged me the most. And I was going through things with the mother of my children, and it was just a sad time for me. I was still grieving the loss of my father. It was just a lot. So I said, listen, I'm going to start doing YouTube. I got to start recording my journey. I got to start documenting this because it's just going to give me motivation. It's going to give me something to look back on and say, listen, you kept pushing. Look at you then. And look at you now. And as I look back at that video, I watched that video a lot. I watch my old videos a lot because I've grown so much. And when I watch my old videos, it reminds me that God is always there. God is always working, and God will shift your situation. You never know where he is in your life. I was just so lost at that time, and a lot of things was happening in my life at that time. And I was just so happy that I just had people to talk to. I had 100 subscribers. A couple people was commenting and stuff like that. But once I saw that, it was like, it gave me push, it gave me motivation to keep on going because what I was being told from my family and the mother of my children at that time was, I was just like, I don't know, y'all. I don't like to talk. I don't really like to talk about the past because without my past, I wouldn't be who I am today without all the things I had to go through. And I don't regret anything in my past because it's just my past. And I'm appreciative for my life. So I didn't really start YouTube for money. Okay, I didn't really start YouTube for money. I did say I wanted to become a content creator because you do get more freedom. But at the end of the day, I'm just really just documenting my journey. And I started to just inspire the world, just to be an inspiration to people to just keep on going in your life. It don't matter what you're going through in your life. You just got to continue to keep pushing. And I'm one that faced a lot of obstacles in my life. And my testimony is, I got a very strong testimony. I got a testimony about a lot of things that I can share and help many. And throughout this journey, I've been sharing videos about my life and just sharing my testimony. And I've helped thousands of people. I read my comments. I read my DMs and stuff like that. And I just be so inspired because it's like just a year ago, I almost wanted to give up on myself. And I thought I wasn't nothing. I thought I didn't have a purpose and things like that because of all the things I was going through. And I let what I was going through get the best of me. It took for me to sit down and pray to God and you know, and really have that faith in him. Now here we are today. So I really started this journey to just really document my journey and document my life. Yes, it comes with freedom. I looked at my kids. I said, I don't want to keep clocking into work. I don't want to keep spending so much time away from my kids. You know, I worked at many jobs. I did many things. I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I'm a hardworking man. And I said, listen, what could I do to allow me to have more time with my kids, spend more time with my kids? YouTube came up, you know, content creation came up, you know, and that's what really most people are doing now. But it was, for me, it was never really following a trend. It was never really about money for real, but that was just a second thought. Like just that freedom to just have more time with my kids. Like that was a second thought. But the first thought was just me just having people to talk to. Okay, having a support system for real, because as a man, we don't really have too many support systems and outlets out here. So I use my channel as an outlet and just somebody to talk to in this world, you know. And it might sound weird because you would think as a person that do so much for everybody, the support would be just as much as I support other people, but it's not like that. And when you are a person out here and you're a really good person, sometimes you're abused. You know, you're abused and you're used until you feel like you're nothing. That's what happened in my life. Like everybody around me started to use me, okay? And they started to judge me when I couldn't show up for them, you know? So that's why I got to remind the people out there that may be going through the things that I went through in my life to keep on going and don't go the same route that I took. Keep on pushing. Even if you don't have no support system, just keep on pushing. You never know where God is in your life. And if you know that God is with you at all times, that's all the support you need. And I didn't know that at first. I didn't know that at first because I was just getting beat up. Okay, and I was getting abused. Okay, so now I'm sitting here today and I'm telling you right now, put God first in your life, and don't you ever, 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 ever think you in this life alone and you doing this alone, because you are not. God is with you at all times. And my life, if you know, like I'm a very busy person. It's never really a time where I can sit down and do this, like really sit down and just be here, because I'm always running around for everybody. I'm always taking care of my family. That's what I do. You know, that's what I watched my father do. My father, he took care of everybody. And it's sad to say that at the end of his life, when he couldn't be there for people, they didn't show up for him. They didn't show up for my father. And I watched it. You know, I was really the only one there supporting my father. And, you know, there, like, it didn't matter anything. Nothing could stop me from being there for my father. Nothing. No job, no individual, nothing. I showed up for my father. I was there for him. And it was truly a blessing to be able to take care of my father and be there for him to his final days. Like he took his last breath in my arms, you know, and I get emotional sometimes when I talk about it. But I think that's something that I should share with y'all, because a lot of men, you know, we are the ones, like, we're only appreciated when we're not here, when we can't provide. And people see our worth when we're not here. And I make sure that I told my father, I said, Daddy, I'm going to take care of myself. I promised my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to take care of myself. You know, because I really sat there and watched my whole life my dad take care of everybody and show up for people. And some people couldn't even show up for him in the end. You know, some people couldn't even make sure that his children were okay. And I make sure that I know I understand my worth, you know, because I told my father, I said, Daddy, I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to live my life. And I also created a channel called Mirrors Mental. And that's really going to be my space and my channel to where you'll see more of me. Like me being myself, you'll see more of me, like taking care of myself. Like it's not me running from my responsibilities or anything like that, but it's just me pouring into myself. So on that channel, you'll see a lot of things like solo vacations. You'll see me maybe going to date. You'll see me at the arcade, playing basketball, fitness. You'll see me doing a lot of things, because I want y'all to understand that just because you have responsibilities or you have to show up for a big family and things like that, that does not mean that you have to lose yourself. You can still be yourself. You can still, you know, take care of yourself, because mental health, it matters, you know, and I will always share my journey, my whole journey. So I created Mirrors Mental so I can show y'all better than I could tell y'all, and let y'all know that I've always been the light. I've always been a happy, outgoing person. And just because I had children, that didn't stop anything. I'm still myself. I'm still a very happy, funny person. So make sure y'all go check out Mirrors Mental. Make sure y'all subscribe to that journey, because we're going to have a lot of fun on that channel. And I'm going to be showing y'all a lot of things. And if you're having struggles with your mental health or anything like that, I'm going to make sure I dedicate a lot of my episodes and a lot of my vlogs and things like that for you. So make sure y'all go follow and subscribe to Mirrors Mental. So now that I've talked about my supporters, because I love y'all so much, now I want to talk about my life, a little bit about my life. I told y'all I'm 24, I'm raising 8. So right now I'm about to break it all down and explain the whole situation and explain what's going on in my life and how am I a 24-year-old father figure to 8. Everybody's always asking me this question. They always ask me this question. Where's the mom? What the mom is doing? How did you end up 24 with 8? Are you really 24 with 8? Are they biologically your kids? And all these other questions. And I'm here to answer every single question. So be ready. let's go. We're gonna go back into me a little bit, okay? So, I was once a boy. Didn't have no kids. Running around. Didn't know my purpose for real. Just being a wild dog. Being lustful. Wasting my time. But learning, okay? Because nothing is a waste of time. Nothing is, I don't regret no phase of my life, like I said earlier. But I was just being a boy. A wild boy, okay? And I was in college. I focused on sports. Focused on partying. And being just lit, you know? So, COVID come. We all know what COVID is, right? So COVID came and COVID shut down college for a lot of individuals. If you don't know, I went to Bloomfield College. I completed my freshman year and I completed some of my sophomore year, and I started to do college online, okay, during that COVID season. We had to move off of campus. And at that time, like I said, I was just a boy, right? Didn't have no responsibility. I had my own car. I was in college. I was taking care of myself. Yeah, I had a job and things like that. So I was making a lot of money and stuff. But like I said, no responsibility. So COVID came. I had to move back home into my parents, back into my home. So I always had a home still. Even when I went to college, I still had a room in my house because, you know, my father loved me so much and my father preserved my room. Nobody was in my room. So I came home to my room. It was in the attic. Okay, but I love my room. I appreciate my little blow-up bed. I had a little setup up there, yeah. So yeah, if you know, you know. If you've been up there, you know. If you've been up there, you're a real MVP. Just know that. If you've been up there, you're a real MVP. I met a woman. I previously knew her already. We ended up getting into a relationship. Now, mind you, this is all like today is August the 5th. So that I asked her to be my girlfriend August the 1st, 2020. Okay, so 2020, I asked her to be my girlfriend. August the 1st. We started talking April of 2020. Okay, so that year I came home from college. I had to leave campus. We started talking. Okay, I came home. We started talking. Now, she already had 2 children. Her oldest child was 2. Okay, her other child was about, I want to say 9 months. Okay, 8, 9 months, around that period, right? While we were dating, I always was there for them. I didn't have no experience being a father. I was raised by a great man, so I obviously knew what I was taught, you know, just to spread love, about respect and things like that. I was very new to it, but I did a great job stepping in. I was really just an 18-year-old, just, you know, experiencing life, just having fun. And I was able to turn my life around, become a mature adult and become a good father figure and, you know, really be there taking care of a family, you know. So I came in, I was taking care of my kids. Their father was around at that time. Their father was around. He was going through his own problems, his own situation that I don't know what was going on between them. But, you know, they were co-parenting a little bit. And then it was just inconsistent, okay? It started getting inconsistent and things like that. And when I first came in, mind you, me and him, we never had no conflict, ever. We never had no conflict. We had one situation where we had conflict, and that was between me and him. But other than that, outside of that, it was never a problem. But one thing he did tell me is this. When I first came around, he told me, he said, stay away from my kids. He said, I don't want you nowhere near my kids. You know, I don't want you nowhere near my kids. You can date her, but stay away from my kids. And I respected that. As a man, I respected it. You don't want me around your kids. You don't want me, you know, being there around your kids. I respected that as a man. So I said, cool. You know, I respect that. Cool. I'm not going to sit here and overstep my boundaries because at the end of the day, I'm just a boy. You know, I'm still a boy. I don't have no responsibilities. I don't know what it's like to be a father or anything like that. So I'm like, cool. You know, I'm just dating your baby mom. Cool. Boom. Over time, I overstepped that boundary. Okay. I overstepped that boundary because I was able to identify certain things in their relationship. I was able to identify where people lacked that. So I overstepped the boundary and I started to take care of them as my own. And over time, he respected that. At first, he didn't agree with that. We didn't really bump heads. We had conversations. You know, we had conversations. You know, he said, listen, I respect for what you're doing. I appreciate you for stepping up and being there for my kids. I just appreciate that. You know, he told me that. He told me that plenty. He said that to me plenty of times. That I appreciate you. I appreciate you for doing what you do. From my perspective, I'm a man, So I always understood that, like, men, we go through our own problems. Like, I grew up in a household where we called our mother's other baby father's uncle, because my father was so cool with my mom's other baby fathers that, you know, it was just brotherhood. You know, it wasn't no beef. I never watched my father dislike or beef or have conflict with another man because they share the same woman. You know, they have kids with the same woman. So me personally, I was always mature in this situation. So when that happened, boom, he had to spend some time away. So I stepped up. From that point on, when I stepped up, it was no turning back. You know, I was there from that point on. Once I accepted them as my own, I started taking care of them. I never forced my kids to say dad or anything like that. They grew into saying that over time. You know, they grew into saying that over time. And I never discluded the fact that they had a father. I always let them know, like, listen, you have a biological father. Yes, you call me daddy. Yes, I'm there for you. Yes, but you still have a biological father. And one day when he get his life together and things like that, you're going to be spending more time with him. I like to say that because, you know, at the end of the day, I think every man should, you know, every man that creates a kid, it's a special bond. And it's something that you have with your kid that you cannot miss out on. And there's certain things that I can't teach them that their father may be able to teach them because it's something in his childhood, it's something that he faced, and some of the obstacles that he had to go through in his bloodline and things like that, that he has the power to teach. Long story short is, I took them in as my own, and I've been raising them, okay? I've been raising them as my own till this day. If you watched my old videos, when it comes to the court system and things like that, it was a period in my life where I stopped getting them, okay? It wasn't a long period, but it was a short little period because I started being disrespected, and I started being disrespected to the point where I thought that when I had to go through the court system, I thought I would never be allowed to see them again. You know, I thought that I would never be allowed to have them, you know, really care for them because of things that happened, because emotions got involved, and I asked the courts, I said, listen, I've been taking care of them since I've been in their life. Do I have a right? Do I have a say so in their lives? Okay. Do I have is there any document that I can say that when I get my biological kids, could I please still get them? The judge said, no, you have no say so. You are not the biological parent, and you have no say so. Even though you've been taking care of them, you have no say so. Okay. So at that point, I was just like, it hurt me. You know, it hurt me because I'm not going to talk too much. I don't even want to get too deep into that. But I was in a situation where I had to walk away for a little bit because I had to, you know, I told him, I said, listen, I told my babies, I said, listen, it's going to be one day when you get older that you're going to understand what happened. You're going to understand what sacrifice I had to take. I really wanted to be there for y'all for as long as I could be there for y'all, but it's some things that's going on that y'all don't understand. Now, y'all just too young to understand, you know, and it hurt my heart to tell them that and to have to step away for, I wouldn't even say it was a long time. It was about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that. But after that, you know, the schedule was back up. I was able to get them again, you know, because when you're dealing with somebody that has emotional problems and you're dealing with controlling people, your life you have to make decisions like that. You have to make decisions, sacrifices and things like that because you just don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. So y'all just don't understand what went on behind the scenes in my life. I don't really talk too much about that point in my life, what I went through in my life. I said all that to say, like, I only spent that much time away from my kids. So if you watch my videos, you'll literally watch the video where it's just me, Kyer, and Jakai. That's it, just us two. And I recorded an hour-long video. Like I said, like at that time, it was eating me up. It was eating me up, that the fact that I was being abused and I was being controlled at that time. So listen, they are my babies. I take care of them till this day. So today is August the 5th, 2026, and I've been taking care of them nonstop. Me and her, we split up 3 years ago. Okay. And that never stopped me from getting them. I still get them full time till this day. I have 4 kids. That's why when I say I have 4 kids, that's what I mean. I have 4 kids. So when y'all come in here and say, do you have 4 kids biologically at 24? No, I don't. Okay. But they my babies, you know, blood can't make us any closer. They are my children. I love them so much, and I've been caring for them this whole time, and I still will continue to do so, God willing, because we know how situations are. If we're being honest, I have no say-so in their life. So if a decision was to be made today, I wouldn't have no say-so. Okay, I would have to deal with it. I would have to just suck it up and like I said, once they get older, they'll see what was going on, and they'll be able to communicate with me and see things for what it was, you know. But at the end of the day, you have no control when you're a step parent. That's just the truth. You just literally, if you're a step parent out there, you have no control over that kid, and it's going to be one day where you'll be hurt because maybe she'll move away and you'll lose access to the kids, even though you was there, you was the one taking care of them. They'll move away and you'll have no say. But I pray that if that was the case in your house, if that was the case in your situation, that those kids will never forget you and they'll find you and they'll, give you your flowers and see what really happened, because a lot of the times some things happen, but other things are said to the kids. And as men, we face a lot of that. Look up parental alienation. We face that a lot. I know what that's like firsthand, so. But I didn't want to get too deep into that. But like I said, I just want to explain more about me and my situation. Like I said, this plaque is here. I have my plaque, but I want to use this time to really sit down and explain to my supporters my whole situation, because a lot of y'all don't know the whole situation. So boom, 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 boom. I just said all that to say, all right, boom. I came home from college. I got into a relationship with a woman who had kids. I became their parent. I don't like to say step parent. I became their parent, their bonus parent, okay? Their bonus parent. They still have a father, but I just became their bonus father, okay? Through our relationship, we ended up having 2 children. We had one while we were together. We ended up having another child in 2023, which is my 2-year-old. At that point, it's a lot of things going on. We're just doing things, and that's what happened, So we had 2 children, and ever since basically my 2-year-old was born, that's where the co-parenting started, okay? So now y'all know why I'm 24 and I have 4 children. I just explained the whole thing to y'all, so now y'all know, okay? If you have another question, just drop in the comments. I'm going to be doing a Q&A video and letting y'all explain it a little bit more, just a little bit more into detail. If y'all wanted me to answer questions or anything like that, I'll let y'all know. I'll be answering y'all questions, so make sure y'all drop in the comments and let me know what questions y'all have outside of what I just explained. Now, let's get into the second half of why it's 8. I just explained 4, which are my children, and the ages for them. My daughter is 8, my son is 6, he'll be 7 on the 16th of August, which is literally 11 days away. My 5-year-old just turned 5, June the 13th, and I have a 2-year-old that's about to be 3, August the 9th. So those are my 4 children. Now let's get into my 3 nieces and my 1 nephew. One of my older sister had children. Her children got taken into DIFUS in 2017, okay? In 2017, they got taken into DIFUS. When they got taken into DIFUS, my father went to fight for custody for them to get them out of DIFUS. Now, when they were in foster homes, they experienced a lot of things in those foster houses that many don't know about. That I choose not to it's nobody else's business what they experienced, but it was just what they had to go through there was heartbreaking. It was terrible, So my father went and got them out of foster home. Now, remember this, right? They are not my dad's grandkids. They are my dad's grandkids because he was there for them. He's always been there. They literally called him dad, so they was raised with us basically they lived down the street from us. They was always in our house and things like that. So we basically all grew up together, and they all looked at my father as their dad and grandpa because he was there. But that's my mom's daughter. Okay, so that's my mom's grandkids, but my father fought for them. You know what I'm saying? Because my father was a one of a kind. My father can't be replaced. If anybody is to replace my father, it's me. Okay, if it's anybody that can carry on my father's legacy, and if I can give you an example of my father, it's me. Okay, so if you know me and you see everything that I do and you see what type of man I am, that's because of my father. And I'm trying hard to not shed a tear right here. But just know that my father was a great man, and no man could ever replace my father. No man could ever do that. My father was a great man, okay? Great man. All right, come on, let's get into it, because I don't want to get emotional here. If I get emotional, then I'll just the rest of the video will be emotional, because tears would just fall. But yes, my father, he went to fight for them. 2017, he got custody of them. They tried to throw so many things at my father, okay? So many things. They started bringing up old cases from 1986 and things. And they started to bring up as much as they could. Oh, you have kids. You have this many kids. You can't have them in the house because there's this many kids. Oh, you can't do this because you handicapped, and They brought up so many problems with my father, and guess what? My father kept on fighting. I watched my father continue to keep fighting for my nieces. And he fought and fought and fought and went to all the classes. He did whatever he could to have my nieces, and he ended up winning custody of my nieces, okay? So we ended up winning custody after a long legal battle. got custody of them. They moved into our home. We had to move because our house that we was in, it wasn't big enough. So we had to move into a house where they'll have enough room so that, nothing could be said. We had a house assessment, things like that. They came over. They said, okay, this is a good place. They're good. Boom, boom, boom. So my father won custody of them, and they've been living with us since. In 2023, my father transitioned. Okay, my father got sick. He transitioned from cancer. Okay, he transitioned, and the girls were basically at risk of going back into the foster system because my father was their only caregiver. My father was the only one that signed the papers. It was no secondary person or on that paper or anything like that. So my father, once he transitioned, they were going to be sent back to DIFAS. Now, let me remind you this, right? This is where I say what I say sometimes, and I say that sometimes that my family knew the situation. My family, everybody knew what was going on, but nobody really wanted to step up. Nobody really cared about the situation. That's why when that time came when they went into DIFAS, nobody fought. Okay, nobody fought. My father was really the only family member that really fought to get them out of foster care. He was the only one. No matter what battles he faced, he was the only one, and he did it. So when my father transitioned, nobody wanted to step up. Nobody wanted to, obviously me and my father, we had many conversations. When my father, this is something that I want to make another video because I don't want to get emotional in this video. But as my father started to break down, he started to get sicker. We had conversations, and I told him, I said, Daddy, you will never have to worry about things like that because you raised me up to be a great man. Okay, you raised me up to be a great man. And I watched it all. So I know exactly what to do, Daddy. I'm going to take over. I'm going to make sure that the house is going to make sure I keep the family together. And I made that promise to him because I love my nieces with my whole heart. The same way my father loved them as his own. I love my nieces that same exact way. So I could never see them experience that again. When they got taken into foster care, at that time, I think I was about 15, 14. I remember I was going to school. I was crying. I was on a football team. I was playing football. And I remember just after practice, I would just go somewhere and I would cry. Nobody knew what I was crying about, but I was crying because my nieces got taken away. At 15, my heart was just that. And everybody looking at me what are you crying for? What are you doing? My family, they okay? What are you, and I can't explain that because it's my heart is different. I have a very loving and caring heart, and I had this heart and I've been this way my whole life. And this is why, as a kid, I was doing things as a kid that many people questioned. They didn't understand why I was doing it, but God was speaking to me and showing me my purpose since I was a little boy. When God is on your life and God has that hold on you, and God blesses you and show you your purpose at a younger age, when you do things, you don't understand that that's what God is wanting you to do until you get older. When I look back at my life, I look back at some of the things that I did as a child, taking care of my community, taking care of the elders in my neighborhood, taking care of the homeless. Even as a kid, my father would give me $1, $2. I would go to the store and buy quarter bag of chips, and I would give that to homeless people at a young age. I don't even like to say the word homeless. I'm sorry for saying that word, but the people that's in need, I would give that to them at a young age, right? And how would I learn that? My dad didn't teach me that, okay? My dad poured the love into me that God gave my father the love, and my father poured into me, and I was able to pick that up. Now, I didn't have to be taught that. Nobody had to tell me that, but that's God leading me at a young age, So as I'm an adult, I look back at that and I say, wow, God been in my life and God been showing me this my whole life, But I say all that to say I was 15 years old and I was heartbroken because my nieces got taken into custody. So I said, I watched my father go up there. We would visit them time and time, go up there and visit them and things like that, bring them lunch and things. So, yeah, that was that. So when my father transitioned, nobody had that feeling for them. Even till this day, so many people have conflict with them and they don't treat them fair. They don't treat them fair. So I always make sure that I'm there. I'm pouring in as much as I can for them because I love them so much, and I raise them as my own as well. So long story short, they went into custody. They were forced to go back into custody. My father gave me the blueprint. He told me everything to do. He told me to be prepared. Oh my God, I gotta stop doing that because I'm about to get emotional, y'all. He gave me the blueprint. All right, let me just hurry up and speed through this part. He gave me the blueprint, okay? And he said, Jamire, this is what you gotta do. So I said, all right, Dad, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it, So boom, my father transitioned, and I had to take the steps. So my father was a hardworking man. My father had life insurance. So he already told me what to do. So basically, I had to reset the house. I had to do some things. I had to get new furniture and things like that. I had to repaint the house. I had to get the house together so that when the people came, that it wouldn't be no problems in the house. You know, it was certain things that needed repair. It was some things that some rooms had to be fixed up and things like that. So I had to use that money to cover, most of the money went to covering the funeral expenses and things like that, you know. And then the other part of that money was getting a house together and making sure that I had everything together so that when they came, you know, the process would be easy, smooth, and they wouldn't bring up any problems. So that's what happened. So when my father transitioned, I immediately got to work. I was grieving at that time, but I remember what my father told me to do, and I remember God telling me that this is why I started a company as well. I started a company named Jeffrey's Renovation, okay? Jeffrey Renovations that time, because I remember being so depressed, and I was so low, just crying to myself, and I can remember God just talking to me, telling me to go paint. Go get some paint and go paint. You know, that's just like that, just go paint. So I went and I got the paint, I started fixing up the house, and then I just started I started seeing clarity in that. Me fixing up the house, it brought me peace, me painting and things like that. So I started a company named Jeffrey Renovation. I named it after my father because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know the meaning behind that company. That's the meaning behind it. You know, God told me to do this, you know. God told me to do this, and I was reminded that my father was with me at all times. So when I picked up that paintbrush and I was, you know, doing that, I was living in my purpose. You know, I was doing what I was called here to do. You know, so that's what happened. And that's why I started my company, Jeffrey Renovation. I started fixing up houses and things like that. Started doing accent walls and things like that. So long story short, I fixed up the house. The Dyfus people, they came, they told me everything I had to do. They gave me court dates. They told me I had to do this. I had a caseworker that came every week and talked to me and checked on the kids and things like that. Asked them, was they okay and things. Everything was well. The kids was well. The house was well put together because I painted. I did everything. I fixed up everything. So we didn't have no problems there. The only problems was with the court system. The court system, the same fight my father fought, I had to do the same exact thing. They came up with certain things. Oh, you're so young. Why do you want to get custody of your nieces if you're already young? You already have kids of your own. Why do you want custody of your nieces? Okay? We not giving you no money. Okay? We not supporting you in no way. You will not have any type of support from us. And I said, I don't care. And I continued to fight no matter what those court documents said, no matter what they said. I continued to fight until the court date. Once I got the final court date, I'd never been in court that much. I was in and out of the courthouse. It was depressing, but I had to fight. I knew that if I didn't fight for my nieces, then they would end up back in the system. I could never in my life let that happen. I would never let my nieces go back to the system. So that's what I did. And I was fighting, back and forth to court, filling out documents, doing this, doing that, running around, doing what I had to do. And then the final court date came, okay? And I think that was in January something, I think the 20-something. It was around that time, January. And I can remember I was granted full custody of my nieces. This was 2024. In 2024, I was granted full custody of my nieces. Full custody. Not partial custody. Not this. No. I was granted full legal custody of my nieces. So from that point on, I had my nieces, okay? My nieces are 19, 15, and 14, okay? Had them that whole time. Today is August the 5th. Once again, I had them this whole time. So that's how I got custody of my nieces, okay? I got custody of my nieces because I was never letting them go back into the system. And I love them. I still care for them to this day. I do the best that I can. As a man raising them, I do the best that I can, you know? And so that's my 3 nieces, okay? Now, my 1 nephew. Now, during that time, during the same time that I was fighting for my nieces, my nephew was here. He was about 1 year old. Mind you, they all got the same mom. My nephew was basically being raised around things that he shouldn't have been around. People that I just did not trust the people that he was around, the house that he was in. Just know that when I would go to see my nephew, I didn't like the energy in that house. I didn't like the people that was around him, people smoking, drinking, and there was a lot of things going on around my nephew. And I said, I don't want that for my nephew. So I took my nephew out of that situation and I raised him with my nieces around the same time. Okay, so ever since then, my nephew was 4 now, so it's been 3 years, and I had my nephew with me. I've been raising him. So that's how I'm caring for 8, y'all. I just explained how I'm caring for 8. They all got different dads. Only 2 of my nieces got the same dad. The 2 nieces that got the same dad, their father basically was locked up their whole life. Their father came home from jail after being locked up basically their whole life. You know, he was in and out of jail. And he wasn't in a position to take care of them at all. He wasn't in a position to take them in or anything like that. So when it was time where I had to go to court, that final hearing, he was at the hearing. Even my sister was there. He was saying that, you know, he had a relationship with my father. He knew my father well, and that I was a great man to take care of his children and things like that. So he told the judge these things. And as a man, I understand it. Like, you incarcerated your whole life, even though he's probably almost 50, he's probably almost 30 years older than me, okay? He's probably almost 30 years older than me, but I understand it. You know, when you're in a situation, you come out of jail, you know, it's not much that you can do. You have the world against you. Everybody, you know, want things from you, and you got to be this way. You got to be on this, that, and the third. So I already knew that. So I never judged him. I told him, like, listen, just get your life together. Do whatever you can with your life. Don't worry about my nieces. Don't worry about your children. I got them. Even though my niece, right? My oldest niece is 19 years old. She'll be 20. Okay. She's only 6 years younger than me, okay? She's only 6, I'm about to be 25, so she's only 6 years younger than me. And then my other nieces, I'm 10 years older than my other nieces. So we not that far from, so I'm basically raising them, and we all kids, you know? We all still young, we all kids, you know, but I have that maturity in my heart because, like I said, my father was just a different man. He showed me something, right? So I'm telling a grown man that I'm going to take care of the kids. I'm going to make sure that they are well taken care of because I understand life. You incarcerated, the odds are stacked against you. Okay, you already going through legal problems and things like that. So the odds are already stacked against you. So I told him as a man, I said, just focus on your life. I understand, okay? I understand. I love my nieces, so it's not a burden. It's not anything on me because at the end of the day, I love my nieces so much and I understand it. So I told him, I said, fine, like, just handle your business, you know? I'm still a full-time parent to them, yes. To this day, I'm still a full-time parent to them, yes. My other niece, my 15-year-old niece, her father wasn't there. Her father just wasn't there from the beginning. No communication, no nothing, okay? He been in her life for probably a little bit. He ain't signed a birth certificate or nothing. He just was absent her whole life, okay? My niece, she got other sisters that she ain't even get. I ain't gonna get too deep into that, but she got other siblings that she ain't never even meet yet. And then my nephew, basically like months after he was born, his father had to do some time in jail, okay? So his father had to do some time in jail. And like I said, during that time, if his father was home at that time, my nephew would have never been in that situation. He would have never been in that situation at all. Before he went to jail, basically, my nephew was living with him. So it's basically my nephew was taken care of, but when he went to jail, obviously, my sister was a single mom raising him, I guess, and he was in a situation where I told you I had to pull him out of. But he came home from jail this year, okay? And he's been there every week just picking up my nephew, just being very active in his life and things like that. And even while he was incarcerated, he was still just calling in, making sure he good. If I needed anything, he made phone calls to make sure I got what I needed. And he came home and he's basically getting back on his feet. You know, he told me like, listen, he told me, I appreciate everything you did while I was away. I really, truly appreciate that. Like, you young. So when it comes to the men in the situation, that's all the men in the situation. So now that I wrapped that all up, I hope that y'all understand. I hope that y'all understand everything now, okay? I know that was a lot to take in, but I hope that y'all understand it now. Y'all understand my journey a lot more. I want to have this pinned to my thing so that anybody that click on my page, you can read this, you can watch this video all the way through and see what's going on and allow me to explain my situation. And this is why I wanted to make this video, to explain everything so y'all can have a better understanding. But again, if y'all do have any questions, make sure that y'all drop in the comments, okay? Make sure y'all drop in the comments. Let me get back to the judge. Let me get back to what happened with my nieces. So I got full custody of them. They said I would have no legal support, okay? The reason why the court said that I would not get no support from them is because they weren't in a bad situation. I never took in my nieces for money. As people say, oh, I know you're getting a big check and all this. And I told them, like, it hurt me. Well, it used to hurt me because I used to say, like, I understand the value of money. The money is temporary. Money is just a tool. My father taught me at an early age not to cherish money. I'll talk about that later on. But long story short, I didn't take my nieces in for no money. I didn't care about no money and things like that. The judge said, yeah, I wouldn't get no support because they're not coming from the state. You understand? They're not coming from the state. They supported my father during his time with them because my father took them out of foster care, so they had to give him subsidy. You know, they had to give him subsidy because he took them out of the state's care. I didn't take them out of the state's care. I took them from, it basically was a transition. They still was in the same house. There's no transition or anything like that. My father, who was their caregiver, had transitioned. In order for me to gain custody of them, I had to file a paper vacating the kinship legal guardian contract that my father had because he was deceased. So that canceled everything. But again, like I said, that's what the court were basically trying to say. They were basically trying to pressure me into saying that if I wanted custody of them, then that means that I wouldn't get no support. And I said, okay, give me the papers. I'll sign the papers, and I signed the papers. So that was the first step, was vacating that. So I vacated that, and then it was just free game. From that point, it was just like, all right, now it's no guardianship, it's no documents. They can go back to the state at any time, okay? So they said that. I got legal custody of them. I applied for food stamps, okay? I did receive food stamps, okay? I did receive food stamps. There was a program called the Kinship Legal Guardian Voucher. They have vouchers. That's the only thing I received. I received vouchers, like it was clothing vouchers, and they have furniture vouchers. So if I needed any type of clothing or anything like that, it was once a year. This program provided, like, I think it was vouchers up to $400, and I would get clothes, hygiene items, things like that. So as a caregiver, they do give you some type of benefits, and I truly appreciate the benefits. I truly appreciate that voucher that I'm able to receive once per year to get clothes for them and go clothes shopping, because that helps out during school time and things like that. So I'm able to receive that. I'm appreciative for that. But outside of that, no support. When I did lose my job and I was in a financial hole, I had to apply for financial assistance. With cash assistance, what they do is they put the other parent on child support. Okay, that's another thing that happened. They put the other parent on child support. So when I applied, I didn't know that. I didn't know that if I didn't give them information about the other parents, they would still find them and still put them on child support. So they ended up putting, when I applied for cash assistance and they started giving me cash assistance when I was receiving food stamps at the time, they put their parents on child support, which is my sister, their dads, all that. They put everybody on child support. Even my mom, they put my mom on child support. I forgot to tell y'all that I had to get custody of my sister as well. My sister was a minor at that time, and I had to receive custody of her as well. So I wasn't only fighting for custody of my 3 nieces, I had to fight for custody of my younger sister, because my mom, as you all know, my mom faced a lot of problems in her life. You know, my mom went through a lot. You know, my mom pushed out 11 children. She faced addiction and things like that. So she'd been through a lot in her life. So she was nowhere in no position to be stable enough to take care of anybody. You know, my mom been in her life for her whole life. But my father was basically the one that kept my mom together. You know, he kept a roof over her head, make sure she was okay. We never went a day without our mother. You know, she's a great mom. Take care of us, dinner, breakfast, lunch, bath time, love. Like, my mom poured unconditional love into us, and that's the reason why I'm the man I am today as well. To my mother's love. Like, my mom was an example of love, and she poured so much love into us, and I appreciate that so much. So I was raised in a 2-parent household, yes, but my mother never really had a job. She was just basically a stay-at-home mom, and she faced her own battles. So when my father transitioned, my mom was in no shape. My mom was in no shape to get my younger sister. So I actually went to court and fought for my younger sister as well. I forgot to include that as well. So I fought for my younger sister. So I gained custody of my younger sister and 3 nieces in January of 2024. Okay. So that was that. Yeah, they ended up putting their parents on child support and things like that. But I ended up going, once I got a job and I didn't need the cash assistance anymore, I ended up going to the courthouse and taking them off of child support, because there was no reason to have them on child support. As I said earlier, I told them that I would take care of them and I would do the best that I can. And that's what I've been doing. You know, I had a job. I used my job to take care of them. All the money that I was receiving, I used my job to take care of them. Clothes, food, anything that I needed, I used my job. I didn't complain. I didn't beg nobody for no money or anything like that. If they wanted to support, if they wanted to give me any money and say, all right, here's for the kids to go shopping and things like that, that's what I would accept it. But I never depended on anybody, because I knew they was all getting back on their feet. Okay, so boom, that's that. So boom, long story short, that's what happened. So I hope that explains a lot of y'all questions. For the ones that's on here that's telling me, oh, you're getting money, you're getting paid for all your nieces, and you getting paid to have all the... Don't look at me like I don't cherish money. Nothing in my life I don't do nothing in my life for money. Okay, money is a tool. Yes, we need money to survive, Yes, we need money to pay bills and things like that, but money is just a tool, okay? So now I explain my full life story behind how I'm a father figure to 8 at 24 years old. About to be 25, so it'll be a 25-year-old father figure to 8, okay? 25-year-old father figure to 8. So in total, I'm raising a big family, as you all know. Make sure that y'all go follow Jamire and the crew, because that's where we'll be doing family vlogs. You'll see more of me in parent mode on that channel. So make sure y'all go follow that. We're going to be doing family pranks, family vacations, and all that good stuff. So make sure y'all following Jamire and the crew if y'all already don't. Now I'm about to get into the story about how I met Miss D. And I'm not going to keep this one too long because I'm already making a dedicated video on how I met Miss D. And I want y'all to watch that video. It's going to be posted on my nonprofit organization page because I really want y'all to understand her story. And I want y'all to sew into her story because she deserves a house. She deserves a car. She deserves to live the rest of her life at peace in her own place. So make sure y'all go be on the lookout for that video. It will be posted by the end of this week. But how I met Miss D was basically the same year my father transitioned. So basically my father transitioned in September of 2023, okay? So from that point on, like I said, I was still caring for my nieces that whole time. I was still caring for my nephew that whole time. And that whole time I was still grieving the loss of my father. And I ran into Miss D in 2023 December. She was very cold. She was outside on the streets. Now, she used to travel by bus carrying all her bags, all her belongings. She didn't let nobody help her. Nobody could carry a bag. She just didn't accept help from anybody. So this one night I went to Wawa and I saw her sitting in a Wawa. It was really, really cold. I stopped to talk to her and, you know, I asked her what was her size. I asked her what was her size. She had like a little coat on, but I wanted to get her a bigger coat and some sneakers and some boots because she had like some tennis shoes and they was like really worn down. So I wanted to get her some boots. So I asked her for her size and things like that. And then I went over to get her the things. I went to get her the items. I came back. She wasn't there. So I think a week or days went by. I didn't see her again. I didn't see her for a while. And then I pulled up to the Wawa. Boom, I pulled up to the Wawa. And she was there again, and she was sitting there, and I said, "Look, Miss D." I asked her her name. She told me her name was Miss D. I said, "Miss D, I got you the stuff. Remember, I got you the thing." She said, she was kind of mumbling because if you don't know Miss D, she had like some dental work done, and they did a bad surgery on her mouth, so she can't open her mouth. So many people can't understand her, you know. So she mumbled a lot, like she can't really open her mouth all the way. So I got down next to her and I listened to her. She told me her name and things like that. So long story short, I brought her the things. I went to my car and I brought her the things. I said, "Here's the coat." She said, "Oh, this is so nice. Thank you so much." She tried to give me money. She tried to say, "How much do I owe you?" I said, "Miss D, you don't owe me anything. This is for you. Like here you go." So she put it in her cart and things like that. So we were sitting there talking about a lot of things. And then the Wawa workers, they called the cops. The cops came and told her she had to vacate the property, okay? They told her she had to vacate the property. So I'm telling them, like, listen, she's not asking me for no money. She's just sitting here relaxing, okay? I came to talk to her. I came to drop her off something. So that's what's going on. She's not asking for money, so why does she have to leave the property? Oh, she have to leave the property. She can't sit in here. I said, "Okay, cool, officer." I said, "All right." So as I'm helping her bring her belongings outside, I'm asking her, "Where are you going?" I'm asking her, "Where are you going?" She says, "I'm going nowhere." She said, "I'm gonna be out here." I said, "Where your house at?" I said, "Why are you outside?" She said, "I have a house, but I'm not allowed to be in there." Something like that, something along those lines, just, you know. So I said, I didn't really want to keep asking her questions because when I talked to her, she said she get emotional talking about her situation. You know, she experienced identity theft and things like that. Somebody close to her, you know, did something. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but something happened. Boom. From that point, I say, "Okay, all right. Get in my car." I take her to my car. I have a garage. Okay, I have a garage and it was space in my garage. I made some space. It was where I worked at. I worked out in my garage. So I made some space. I went over to Home Depot. I bought a kerosene heater and I let her stay in my garage for some time. Okay, I bring her food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know, things like that. And then it got to a point where I said, "Miss D, do you want to come inside?" You know, I offer her to come inside. Now, I told you I have a 4-bedroom house. Mind you, I already have a house full of people. All my house is occupied. I got kids. Every room is taken. So I said, "Do you want to come inside?" Because I noticed, like, I put a commode out there for her to go to the bathroom, okay? But I said, listen, Miss D, do you want to come in and take a shower and things like that? So then I invited her into my home. So then from there, she started coming in the house. She started staying inside the house. It was no room for her in the house, as I said. So I had a pantry in my back. And the pantry, it used to have food and stuff like that in there, but I cleared it out and I let her stay in there. I put a TV in there. I had a little bed in there. I had a little setup for her, really nice. And she made a decision that she didn't want to be back there because she said she was just separated from everybody and she just didn't want to be in that back room, okay, because she just didn't want to be back there. So she then started to sleep at my dining room table. She would put her bags all over and just sleep in the dining room, at the dining room chair, okay? And long story short, that's where she's been at this whole time. She's been staying in my dining room by choice. She's been at the senior home. She's been in, you know, like those camps where they have people in there and they feed you and things like that, like the shelters and things like that. She's been there, but the way that she was treated in those places and the way that she was judged, she did not want to be in those places. She decided that she'd rather sleep outside than be in those places, you know. So ever since then, you know, she's been staying in my home. She's been sleeping in my dining room. It's an area where she has a recliner chair. She have a table. I put a humidifier there. So that's where she's been at this whole time. She's been there, sleeping there, and she's here by choice. A lot of people think that she's here, that I force her to be here and things like that. No, Miss D is here by choice. Another thing I meant to tell y'all is this. She didn't accept help from nobody. She's been in the streets for a very long time. She didn't accept help from anybody. And she told me that God told her to come with me. At that Wawa, she told me that God led her to come to that Wawa with me. Okay. So from that point on, it's like when I met her, it was very spiritual because because caring for Miss D, it also helped me grieve the loss of my father, you know, because I was taking care of my father for that long time. So as I was taking care of Miss D, you know, it brought me clarity, and like her, just hearing her story and hearing the things that she actually had to encounter while being out there. At 73 years old, she was out on the streets. Like, being there for her helped me a lot too. So it was a blessing, and God put us together for a reason. I always knew that, and I always said that God put us together for a reason. And as she always shared her testimony to me, like I'm just so appreciative that God let us meet each other, because I always told her, like, you can stay with me for as long as you like. There's no rush, you know, you don't have to pay no bills or nothing like that. You are good here. And I have been taking care of her this whole time. She has a son that lives near me. He has a family and things like that. So I don't know the situation, but she was outside. I know when I met her, she was outside on the streets. And whenever I can, I take her to get a hotel room. I take her to go get a stay because I want her to be comfortable. We actively go apartment searching and things like that because she don't want to be in a senior home. Like, she's very healthy. You know, she don't consider herself as a senior. Like, she likes to carry her own bags. Sometimes when I'm carrying bags for her or I'm doing things for her, she want me to let her do it because she understands how, you know, strong she has to be. You know, so the goal for her has always been independence. But I told her, like, this is just a season. So right now she's at my house, but the goal is for her to be independent again so she can have her own place again, her own car again and things like that. So if you would like to read her story, that's also in my GoFundMe. I also created a GoFundMe for her, you know, so I want to talk about GoFundMes at the end of this video. So that's the story about how I met Miss D. It's been 3 years now. She's been staying in my home and I've been caring for her as my own family. She's a part of my family. I love her so much. Every day I get her breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I take care of her, make sure she's okay. I'm not on any type of paperwork. I have no guard. I have no legal, nothing. Nothing is just, she's just staying in my home. I open my home to her and, you know, she has been blessed and I do as best as I can with her as a 24-year-old raising 8. You know, I took her into my home and she's here. She's family to this day. So we are in the process of getting her back to independence right now. So if you can sow into her, like I said earlier, if you can sow into Miss D's journey, that would truly be a blessing. Like, that would truly be a blessing. I want to raise enough funds for her to get her own place again, her own car, to get all the surgeries that she needs. I just explained why I started YouTube, how I'm a 24-year-old father figure to 8, and who is Miss D and how I met her. Now I want to talk about my nonprofit organization, Jamire's Hands of Hope. You will see me on my journey giving back always, because that's what I always promised to do. I always said that when I was in a position that I would give back to those in need, because I understand what hardship feel like firsthand. I know what it's like to not be able to provide for my family in a season because maybe I lost my job, maybe because I started to lack in certain places and I had to give more and make sacrifices. I know what it's like full time to make sacrifices to be there for my family. So I always said that when I was in a position, I would give back to my community and help those out there that's in need. And right now to this day, I've helped so many people out there, and I'm still actively helping many as we speak. So my nonprofit organization, it means so much to me. I always said that through my social media platform, when I'm in a position to, that I will do it. And I have many programs. As you all see, I have my program Hearts in Action, where I'm feeding people weekly, making sure that people have hot meals, making sure that they're clothed, making sure that they have, hygiene kits and things like that. That's one program through my nonprofit organization. We also have Mirrors Youth Movement, where I'll be making a youth organization program to where kids can come that don't have a father figure, that don't have nobody in their life to really look up to. My program will be there, have a safe space to talk about everything, to learn about entrepreneurship, to learn about the values of respect and leadership, and learn about God and things like that. I also have a program called Families First Foundation. Now, this program is focused on helping parents, young parents that's struggling, that need help with simple things like baby diapers, formula, clothing, and things like that. And this program is for all the parents out there that need just a little bit of support. I know what it's like. Me being a father, I had to make a lot of sacrifices, and it was a season where I was so low, and I continued to keep on pushing no matter what. And I promised, I said, when I get out of this season, I will create a program to help parents that's in that season, that need a little push, that need some support in that season. So that's what my program, Families First Foundation, is all about. And if you go on my page, you'll read more about that. I also have a program called Lifted Seniors. Now, in this program, this is going to be more so a long-term thing. I will have vans, company vans, that will provide transportation to elders that struggle to get to appointments, that struggle to get to, simple things like pick up medication and go food shopping and things like that. My program will be a free program to where they will sign up and they will be able to go and, just experience life. They won't be trapped down because they don't have nobody there to take them places. So that's what it's all about. And that's also going to be transferred into a nursing home, and it's going to be like an independent living facility. I have many of those, but that's, like I said, this is all long term, because before I started doing this, I really wanted to get into being a DSP worker. I really have a heart for helping the elders, but it's like, and that system is so corrupt because sometimes people are treated so unfairly in those group homes, okay? They are treated so unfairly. They're getting bed sores. You got to work through a certain policy. And I knew that, me being 24, raising the whole family, caring for so many people that I care for, if I was in that field, it would take a lot out of me. It would drain me so much, because I would give that extra love that they're out there looking for, that the people in those home cares and those facilities are looking for. I was never interested in that field for money. I was interested in that field to, support people that's out there that's in need. All our elders, they're in these nursing homes. They're not being treated fairly. They're getting bed sores and things like that. So I talked to God about this, and I said, I put in my application, but my application got denied. And I took that as a sign. And I said, listen, it's okay, because I think that I got denied that job because of what I just told y'all. Like, I know that it would take so much more. It would take a lot out of me. I would really be in there really trying to do so much in a system where some people just in there for a job. I would be having conflict with coworkers and things like that, because I don't like to see people mistreated. So now that it's all in my hands, and now that I have a nonprofit organization, Jamire's Hands of Hope, I will one day open a nursing home and a family home to where people will be treated with love. Overly love as the same way I care for my family, the same way I care for my mom, and I care for my father when he was here, and I care for Ms. D. I will make it to where all my employees, they will be required to show extra love. Okay, they will be put through tests, and this nursing home, you will be safe, you will be loved. Okay, you will be treated with so much care, so much respect, and you will be treated as family. This nursing home is going to be such a blessing to my community and the elders out there that's looking for a true home. There's some people out there that want to put their family inside of a nursing home because maybe they have a job and they have a family and they can't really take on a responsibility. And that's where I will step in at. That's where you'll be able to drop your loved ones off to me and my facility, and we will take care of them. Nice food, nice hospitality, nice love, just pouring into them with all our hearts. This will be a place where we will go above and beyond for, the elders. We will do that. We don't care about the policy. We don't care about, no pricing. We're not in it for the money. It will be workers in my facility. That's all about being there. That's all about God's love. That's all about treating people with care and the love that they need. So like I said, this program is going to be long term. And I'm also going to have many, independent living facilities for people that want to transition. So like Miss D, like I would have homes to where people, it will be all male home, all female home, to where they'll be able to just be themselves and just be treated with love, be treated with respect. They'll have their own space and they'll be able to just have free will to do whatever they like. You know, it's not like a prison system to where these people are in a place, their money is being controlled. They can't do nothing. They have a curfew and things like that. No, my homes and my facilities, they'll be filled with love. And I pray to God, and I know that one day I will make this happen. And I'm so appreciative that I'm able to be blessed to be in the position that I am, because I know that each day I will work towards that. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll talk more about that on my nonprofit organization, Jamire's Hands of Hope. Am I missing the program? We have Family First Foundation, I just explained. We have Lifted Seniors, I just explained that. Mirrors Youth Movement, we have Hearts in Action, I just explained that. Are we missing the program? Oh, Project Restore, okay? Project Restore. This is the program where we will be flipping homes, okay? And not just any homes. We will be coming into homes where people are experiencing depression and they're at a low state and their home is just out of control to the point where they just need a reset. And this is mainly for parents as well. Parents that have children that don't have furniture, that don't have bunk beds, that don't have the essentials that they need for their house, for their children. My program, Project Restore, we're going to walk into homes and treat families with new furniture, really reset homes, because I understand that some parents and some families and people out there, they just need a reset. And this will be a free program. And I'll have a team. We'll go into these homes, repaint them, clean them out, provide them with furniture, you know, fix up lights, do any type of home remodeling that they might need, because some people can't afford it. You know, some people can't afford it, and some people might not be in that position mentally to even seek that type of help. So my program will be a program to where people will be able to sign up. You know, but Project Restore, this is a project, and this is something that I'm truly excited about, because I always wanted to do house restores and house flips and things like that when I was younger. Now I'm in a position, I have a nonprofit organization. Project Restore is going to be there for the parents and the people out there that's in need, you know, and the people that just need a fresh start. And I have way more information on this on my nonprofit organization, and I'll explain more about this on my website and things like that. So please be on the lookout for that. Those are my 5 programs through my nonprofit organization. Now, I don't have no sponsors. My sponsors is y'all. Y'all are my sponsors. Everybody that poured into my GoFundMe raised over $30,000 in my GoFundMe. I have been able to do so much with my community and have events planned and things planned because y'all sowed a seed into me, okay? Yes, my nonprofit is legally registered. Yes, it's registered, but I don't have any type of extra funding or anything like that. I always said that when my cup was full, I would create a nonprofit organization and I would give back to those in need and my community and all across this world. So if you are not following my nonprofit organization, please go follow on all my social media platforms, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's where a lot of the updates will be. A lot of the transformations and the things that I do will be on my YouTube channel. And if you want to sow into my nonprofit organization or any projects, you are more than welcome to. More information will be on my social media platforms, Jamire's Hands of Hope. So I just explained my life, why I do YouTube, my nonprofit organization, my family, and all that. And I want to say this, I didn't mean to make this video this long, but I really wanted to make this video to just explain me as a whole, because a lot of people might click on my journey, they might be confused as to who is this person? Why is he sharing his journey? What am I seeing on this video? What am I seeing on that video? What's going on? And it's just a mixture of my journey. Like I say, I'm not in a rush anywhere. I'm just enjoying every single day. I'm enjoying the process. I love my life. And I'm just recording and documenting my journey. So yes, if you're following my journey, thank you so much. I love you so much. Always keep God first. Just a year ago, I was in a struggling season. I was in a season where I almost lost hope, but I continued to keep faith. When I started to face more obstacles, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, I continued to keep pushing no matter what. I always knew that God was with me. People judged me, okay? People said I was an embarrassment. People talked down on me. People tried to destroy my character, but none of that succeeded. They did not succeed, because I'm going to continue to be myself, and I don't have to fake for a camera or anything like that. I always tell y'all I'm myself. I love myself, and this is my journey. So if you're following me, you're following a true, authentic, genuine person that's just spreading love and living in God's way of life. So the last thing I want to talk about here, and it's not the least, is my silver button. And I just really honestly just want to say thank you to everybody who poured into my journey, everybody who just want to support me in any way, whether it's liking a video, whether you donated to my GoFundMe, whatever it is. I want to say thank you so much. You know, I created that GoFundMe 1 year ago, August the 16th, 2025. And I created that GoFundMe so that people could read my full story. And 700 people decided to donate towards my journey. And it was a total of $30,000 raised. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who poured into my journey. You know, I was not, asking for any donations. I was just simply sharing my journey. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everybody who poured into my GoFundMe, everybody that's supporting me in any type of way. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all so much. And it's not easy raising 8, okay? So all y'all support, everybody that has been pouring into the Amazon wish list, thank y'all so much. Y'all don't understand how much soap, how much soap, paper towels, tissues, clothing items, all that all goes a long way. None of that is taken for granted. I appreciate every last one of y'all, all my true supporters out there, everybody that has followed my journey on all my platforms and everything. Like, y'all are truly a blessing. Okay, as I said before, just a year ago, I was in such a rough period of my life. Okay, and now here I am a year later in such a better position and more thankful than I could ever be to have all of y'all support. It's never taken for granted. Okay, it's never taken for granted. So I appreciate you. If you watched this far, if you're still watching right now, I love you so, so much. And that just means that you're really committed and following my journey and you're a true supporter to my journey. So I want to say I love you so much and thank you for watching this video. All my true supporters out there, I truly love y'all so much. I'm going to continue to say that. And for y'all, I'm going to start live streaming also. So make sure that y'all follow me on Twitch at Jamire's Journey and also on Mirror's Mental. I'm going to be streaming off of both of those platforms. So make sure that y'all follow me on both. I'm going to be streaming through Twitch and YouTube. And the reason why I really want to do this, because I want to connect with y'all. It's hard to try to get back to y'all comments. It's hard to try to get back to all DMs and things like that. So I'll try my best to get to as many as I can, but I can't all the time. So I want to start live streaming to talk to y'all and, just chat with y'all all day long if I can. So I want to say that I love you so much. I'm so appreciative to be holding this plaque. I manifested, I prayed about it, and I said that one day I will be holding this plaque. And now I'm going to do some more manifesting that one day I'll be holding the golden plaque with 1 million subs, So I appreciate you so much if you sharing my journey, if you liking, commenting, doing whatever you're doing, it does not go unnoticed, I'm very appreciative for my life, I'm very appreciative to be a father to many, and to be a blessing to my community. And it takes nothing from me to do God's work. When you're living in the way that God wants us to live, He provides. God always provides. That's a fact. And that's a testimony in my life that God always provides. And if you're watching my journey, if you're following my journey on any platform, anything you do, anything I'm doing, and you're supporting anything that I'm doing, understand that you are supporting God's work, because I'm simply just living in my God-given purpose and blessing along the way. So once again, thank y'all so much. I truly appreciate this plaque. Thank you so much, YouTube. Y'all are such a loyal community. Like, out of all my platforms, YouTube is one of the strongest communities there is out there, And I appreciate everybody for pouring into me and my family. Y'all are such a blessing. I love y'all so much, and God bless you.